Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Decoding now, and I'm Meghna Dekar. Well, tonight, as we speak, the Meta CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is facing a $1 trillion legal storm in America. 30 US states are suing Meta, accusing Instagram and Facebook of deliberately designing products that keep children hooked to social media. The charge is explosive, that Meta knew its platforms could harm children and yet put profits before their protection. Well, tonight we decode the battle over the algorithm, addiction, and our children. Should social media be banned for kids? Should platforms like Instagram and Facebook face tougher regulations? And this battle isn't just playing out in America. It's much closer back home as well. Elon Musk X is taking on the Indian Sarkar. They are saying that requests to remove content should be made public, while the government says one thing: obey Indian laws. It's a legal fight. On one hand, you have big tech. On the other hand, you have Sarkars. On one hand, you have the likes of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. On the other hand, you have governments like those which are led by President Trump, Prime Minister Modi. So it's big tech versus global Sarkars. Tonight, the bigger question that we are going to be decoding here is when algorithms become addictive, especially for children, who will protect them? And when governments step in, is it child safety or is it a state overreach? Tonight we are going to decode the global war over social media and who really is going to be paying the price. So let's today tell you in great detail about the case which is happening in United States that has put Mark Zuckerberg's Meta in the dock, legally speaking. The defendant here is Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta. The complainant in this case is 30 American states. The case is regarding Meta's child safety trial, as it is called. And it is going on trial today as we speak. The charge against Meta, apps such as Facebook and Instagram, is that these apps are addictive towards children. This was a case which was filed in 2023, and now the trials has begun, which is 18th of August. The charges against Meta are very stark. Let's take you through the allegations, and this is going to be an eye-opener if you don't know about this lawsuit. This lawsuit alleges that Meta designs addictive products that lures children, that Meta knowingly designed a dangerous product, knowingly designed it, that Meta regularly collects data on children who are below 13 years of age, that Meta's illegally collected data, and this collection of data is happening without any consent from the parents. People like you, the parents, don't know that it's happening. Another charge that Meta is facing is that Meta lied to families about how dangerous it is, that it knew, and yet they lied about it. That Meta is refusing to abandon its harmful features despite being red flagged by the states, by parents, by legal entities, but yet they refuse to abandon it. Why? Well, the motive as per them is solely to maximize financial gains, or else the bottom line, the profits. So is Meta and other social media apps profiteering from our children's safety is the question. Now we are going to tell you just how Meta is seeking to defend itself. Meta says that it is proud of its record in protecting teens on its platform. You can see that on your screens. I'm going to read out their statement verbatim. They say, we are proud of our record in protecting teens on our platforms and the amount of effort that we've put into developing protections over the years. Even before these cases were even filed, that they are doing their job. Meta says that we are continuing to do that till present date. Then they say that we look forward, beg your pardon, Meta says that it is looking forward to showing the judge and the jury those facts in court as well. This is a case which is currently on, remember, in a federal court in California, where 4 of the states are now moving in for trial. This is what Meta has said. Now, Meta also claims that the allegations made by attorney generals in US courts are unsubstantiated. So Meta has had some serious reasons to be concerned. Why? Because just look at the numbers. This is why Mark Zuckerberg turned up himself to depose, to try and convince the courts. The damages which have been sought by the complainants, in this case, there are 4 of these states which is right now going on war. Well, the turnover, and we are going to break it down. What does it mean for Meta, which has a turnover of $200 billion? Is that Meta is claiming that the claims which are going to be put on it by 30 different states is up to $1.4 trillion. It doesn't even have that kind of turnover year on year that it can actually play this kind of a claim. However, the 30 states who are actually taken Meta to trial, they are saying that they are not asking for $1.4 trillion, that they are actually asking for $200 billion, which is roughly the turnover in one entire year of Meta's earnings. That's a huge, staggering amount, and that kind of a stress on the Meta's finances is going to be spelling out big trouble for them, which is why Mark Zuckerberg has good reason to be worried. But the bigger question is this: can technology actually manipulate your children's brains? Are they manipulating them? Are they getting them addicted? Are they getting and controlling your children? What I'm about to tell you is going to send a chill down your spine. Meta has been accused of using algorithms which are designed to manipulate dopamine-driven behavior. What does that mean? What exactly is dopamine-manipulated behavior? We are going to break it down for you. Now, you know, dopamine is a chemical messenger, and this chemical messenger is produced in your brain. It plays a major role when it comes to pleasure, when it comes to reward, it comes to motivation, learning and memory. So good things. But experts argue that social media platforms can influence these rewards and these pathways. So essentially, their reward for them becomes a like. Their motivation is going to be getting more views. Potentially, this is going to impact the way your child behaves, what keeps them engaged. Would they be reading books, for example, hour after hour after hour after hour? Perhaps not. But they would sit on their phones, sitting on apps such as Instagram, Facebook, watching and scrolling for hours. How? Because dopamine is being created. It's dopamine-induced algorithm. How often are they returning to this platform depends on what they have consumed, and this data is then being used, illegally collected, and then being used to get these children addicted. Let me explain. Meta has a system, remember, which can create what is known as a variable reward schedule. Here's how it could work. Imagine you upload your first few photos and suddenly get exceptionally high engagement. There are lots of likes, a lot of shares, a lot of comments which are pouring in. You start getting used to that. You want more. And then suddenly the engagement drops. What's going to be the psychological damage of that? The number of likes and shares, let's say it falls suddenly. And that drop will leave you wondering, why is nobody looking at my photographs? Why is nobody interacting with me on my videos? And that is the desire for validation. That is why it is the children who get affected the most, because they can push you to post again and again and again, hoping to recreate that earlier high of validation that you got so many likes. And then unexpectedly, one of your posts takes off again. That predictability is the key. Rewards are unexpected. If it is expected, it would become a pattern. But it is unexpected rewards of likes and share. You don't know which one's going to be doing well. And before you know it, you may find yourself trapped in this cycle. waiting again and again. It's almost like a gambler going into gamble again and again, hoping that his luck is going to change. This algorithm also uses what can be described as a no stopping queue. When you scroll through Instagram Reels, the videos just keep coming. There is no natural end point to it. It is an infinite scroll, one after the other. You watch one video, then you swipe, then another one suddenly appears, then there is autoplay. The next video will start immediately. The minute you scroll, there will be a next video. There will be no time for you to pause and decide whether you actually want to watch it. You're just watching. Minute after minute, hour after hour. You can sit, you can scroll, the next reel plays. Before you know it, you're hooked. You're hooked to the next one. In fact, not just that, Meta's algorithm, it also uses machine learning. And it may be far more personalized than you actually think, because it is actually learning, collecting data on you. It learns from your behavior, every like that you put, every share, every comment, every pause. Every time you skip something, every time you watch something, the signals help the system understand what kind of content you want, what kind of content you want to watch, what will hold your attention, what can hook you. Over time, it will build a picture of what this person's interested in and what information should be recommended, and they are likely to watch and engage. And finally, but probably the most important point, your kids' brains are still developing well into their mid-20s. The part of that brain which is responsible for self-control, for decision-making, for resisting impulses is still developing. It's not like a full-grown adult who's above 30. Your kids still don't know how to act on those impulses. They get impacted at that time. At the same time, you have teenagers which are particularly sensitive to immediate rewards, novelty, to social validation. That's important for younger ones. And that's what makes the design of social media so very concerning. When every swipe delivers a new video, a new surprise, a new hit, you get urged to keep watching. Before your kid realizes it, the impulse to keep scrolling has already taken over. This is how kids get hooked or addicted to social media. Well, owing to these concerns, American parents have now taken their demands to the court. Let's take a look at the changes that they are asking from Meta. They are saying that parental verification for teens are required. There should be no dopamine manipulation algorithm which should be used. Also, that it's important that you axe the appearance altering filters, which literally changes your face and personality if you want, which hooks the kids. Also, you must end the autoplay of video one after the other. Video keeps playing. That you must also prohibit more than one account for every child. Also, that you must end ephemeral posts such as stories which simply disappear after a short amount of time. So the issue is not American only. Remember, teen addiction to social media is very much a real concern in India. Let's take you through some of these glaring numbers so that you understand. The survey has been carried out by local circles, and it says that 95% of teenagers in India are on social media. Your children perhaps are on social media as well. 40% of the children are aged between 8 and 12 years are on social medias as well. That's 6 in 10 children aged between 9 and 17 are spending 3 hours online every day, 3 hours instead of studying. That 17% of the children in the state of Maharashtra, for example, spend 6 hours online daily. That 22% of the parents say that their children have symptoms of depression because of watching their phone constantly. That 37% of them list OTT platforms as their favorite pastime for their children. They don't want to go out and play with friends. They want to watch OTT. The world has taken cognizance of this problem. Social media access for children has already faced a lot of restrictions across many countries. We're going to keep that list coming in. You have Australia, which has put it on hold across for some ages. In Malaysia, minimum age is 16. Then you have others like France, minimum age is 15 there. Then you have Norway, minimum age is 15 there as well. Then you have so on and so forth. The question that we are going to ask, should India also have some kind of a limit on social media? Many states are mulling it, but what really is the case in America and what are the lessons in it for India? Let's put that question across to Daryl West, who's joining us, a senior fellow, the Center for Technology Innovation. Douglas Dillon Chair in Governance Studies, Brookings Institute. There's also Dirk Visser, who's joining us, a marketing and technology expert. Daryl West, I'm going to be starting with you because we must understand this case in US. Why is it that 30 states have taken Meta to court? And more importantly, what are going to be the lessons for the rest of the world, such as countries like India? But if you can just explain to us, why are the parents concerned? What worries them?
People are worried about the addictive behavior, which your package has just described. Particularly with teenagers and young kids, there's a fear that as their brains are developing, they get addicted to social media. There's so much toxic behavior online. There's bullying behavior, kids making fun of one another. And so parents worry about self-image problems. It's been documented. There's been an increase in loneliness, depression. Some kids have attempted suicide. And so there's growing pressure on social media platforms to police their own behavior to try and reduce all of the pressures that social media platforms put on young children.
Dirk Visser, in this case, you have Meta coming out with a statement saying that we have child safety, which is our focus, and we've done it even before the lawsuits, that the complainants' claims are unsubstantiated. Do you feel it is substantiated enough? Not just here, but across the world. Several such complaints have been coming in. Dirk.
Absolutely not. And the fact is, yes, they speak about agentic AI that's scouring and looking for posts that are unsafe and all of that. The fact of the matter is, in most of the customer service, we're going to call it customer service for now, there's one person that's looking at thousands of posts a day.
Okay.
So the controls aren't really there. They're never going to be able to control the scale of what Meta is in order to make sure that the content that's being put out there is safe. They've had multiple pages across Meta where they are being run by bot farms and not actual humans. One of the biggest pages in the US during the Trump administration, while he was coming into the presidency, was being run out of Russia. And it was supposedly based in Texas. So the checks and balances aren't really there. Will they get there? Potentially. But for now, no. And I think the parents' problem with a Meta and the content that's on there is absolutely valid. And they need to be held accountable.
But Daryl West, here's the problem, because we are having similar face-offs between the governments and these social media, the big tech, Meta, even Insta and X for that matter, in India as well. Here's the problem. The problem is of over-governance. The problem is of government overreach. Where do you draw the line where freedom of speech, which is integral to democracies such as yours as well as ours, is also upheld?
Yes, governments around the world are getting more aggressive about monitoring what people are saying online and sometimes going after individuals for comments that they have made publicly. These comments may be critical of government officials, making fun of someone, spreading falsehoods or whatever. And so some countries actually have passed laws basically prohibiting criticisms or satire directed at government officials. And so what Musk has done, which actually I think is a positive step, is when governments approach Twitter to ask that certain statements be taken down, Musk is now making that public. I think that's good for transparency, just in the sense of people knowing when their own governments are asking content to be deleted. Then people can make up their minds for themselves. Like, is this a legitimate request? Like, is someone advocating violence or something like that? Or is it really government overreach, government officials just getting too sensitive about any criticism that comes their way?
Dirk Visser, in this case, and this is interesting because it is 30 states in US which is suing Meta. In India, it is a different kind of a form, but then there is a face-off with the central government itself instead of these state governments. Again, where do you draw the line? Because Meta and even X, for that matter, are now fighting back, saying you cannot clamp down on us.
I agree, and I agree with Mr. West as well. The thing is that it brings in an element of transparency, right? But we've got to understand that each of these companies have to comply to the laws in the jurisdiction in which they operate. So what X is doing, for example, is saying, this is the reason why the government is being asked to, or has asked to remove this content. They're still abiding by the laws and they will remove the content because they have to, right? They're governed by that rule. But what they're doing is they're giving it to the public to say, hey, this has been removed because this is why the government, or this is the reason the government has given us to do that. Now, is that overreach by the government? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of sensitivity out there around, we can't speak against the government, we can't do this, we can't do that. We've seen the uprisings in Brazil, we've seen some of the uprisings in India itself. But what we're doing is we're putting the power back in the user's hands and going, this is the reason why this post was removed, and now you are fully informed. Make the decision for yourself.
So that's an interesting conversation. We are already having these conversations, but what's important is that we continue to have these conversations. This is not going to end anytime soon, especially when it comes to algorithms which are going to impact our children directly as well, other than the larger moral, legal issues and also fundamental rights like free speech. So I really appreciated Dirk Visser as well as Daryl West for joining us here on the show. You may be belonging to different countries, but these are the same challenges, these are the same conversations that we are having back home in India as well. With that, we wrap up Decoding Now. Appreciate you gentlemen joining us. I'll see you again tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. right here on Time Snap.